Hello and welcome to another episode of DC Alliance. Of course, I'm your host, Clay, finally here. It feels like I have been away for way too long. But of
One week,
course,
Clay. 1
I
week.
know, I know. And in this just I feel like I've been
And
away
it was
for
a
way too
slow
long.
week last week. It was a slow week last week too.
I feel like I've
We reviewed 2 episodes of Smallville.
I've been away for I feel like I've been away for way too long, just considering the fact that I'm gonna be away for an entire month.
You missed
When it comes
multiple podcasts. That's why it wasn't just one. That's why it felt like longer than what it was. You missed multiple
uh
podcasts. But
but
yeah,
I
October's gonna be tough for you. It's gonna be tough.
Whew. But I am here with Travis Hines. Hines, how you doing?
Pretty good, Clay. Last week of work here this week, and then next week on Wednesday, my final 2 semesters of school start. So, woo woo, yay! Uh,
You find your big boy job yet? Have you looked into anything like
oh,
crazy
I
or
I don't really have to, if I'm being honest with you. The program that I was in that sponsored you to go to school, it was absolutely terrible last year. They gave me $200 a week living allowance, a total $800 a month, but you weren't allowed to work more than 18 hours a week, or they would cut your funding. They pay tuition and
no,
books
no, no. I
too.
mean for like after graduation. That's what I mean.
Oh, big boy job. Yeah, they love me where I'm at, and they kind of want me to come back. So yeah,
Nice.
but I'm not sure because I want to do my CPA.
Yeah.
So I don't think I will get have the skills there, get the skills from working there to complete my CPA. But I'm not
Eh,
sure because there was a recruiter asking the other day about that. So who knows? I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I
if
thought you meant during school. I was like, no, I'm covered. The government just magically out of nowhere was like, okay, yeah, we used
must
to
be
give you
nice.
200. They said 500 a week now. I'm like, okay, yeah, woohoo, go Canada.
Must be nice. Anyway, of course, we got a little bit of a show for you guys tonight. We got some big topics. I threw one last one in there to kind of round us up at the very end. That I am eager to have even a response to with our listeners. So we want to aim for more interaction with you guys. So leave us reviews, of course, on iTunes, Google, any type of podcaster of choice that you would like to have. But let's go ahead and jump into the GUA network plugs. Of course, the GUA is the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We at DC Alliance is a part of. What that means is we're just a big, giant podcast family. 8 shows across 7 days a week on a weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly schedule. So, of course, starting us off every single week is Slice of Film and Ranger Alliance. This week we had Slice of Film. Katie did a solo show talking about the Lord of the Rings franchise as a whole. She went through all of the, like, not all, but she talked about Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King, all of the Hobbit films, her favorite characters, some of course her hot takes, because it wouldn't be Katie without those hot takes. Really cool uh conversation that she kind of had with herself. So I highly recommend you guys listen to that. Um, Ranger Alliance is going to have a special episode next week because of Power Rangers Week. It is the 29th anniversary of Power Rangers. Uh, I was a little disappointed in.
I'm really fighting not to laugh because you just can't catch a break. Whatever fandom you, I thought you would at
Well,
least get a movie announcement. Like,
here's the thing. So if you haven't heard of the podcast Ranger Danger, I highly recommend it. Michael Basudel and Matthew Groom host that show. Those names should sound familiar because they are the writers and editors of the massive verse, which Radiant Black is a part of. Ranger Danger, Michael, put in a good moment there at the end of Power Morphicon with the announcement of the 30th season or 30th anniversary season being the Cosmic Fury, in the sense of like, hey, they don't want to rush things. And that's kind of going into the conversation that we're going to have with DC. But Power Rangers doesn't want to rush anything with Netflix. And so it's safer to put in another season at Netflix under the old kind of formula, I guess would be the right terminology for it. And then they'll push forward. Now, I'm totally okay with this because the most recent season, Dino Fury, um, is actually really effing good. I have had a lot of fun with it. Joe has seen some episodes. I think he has caught up, and I don't know if Jake has caught up on everything yet, but he watches those with his kids. Um, but we've already made the announcement that we will be covering Cosmic Fury. Well, not Cosmic Fury, but a couple months ago we said we would review the new season. So that is something that we're going to be doing next year. We're very excited about it. It is something that hasn't happened since like the 90s going into the 2000s, with a former team actually moving into a different titled Power Ranger season, which is really cool. Not a whole lot of actors in the Power Rangers franchise has had the ability to do that. So I thought that was really, really cool. I am looking forward to the Power Rangers Cinematic Universe on Netflix, but it does look like we have to still wait. So there is that on Mondays. Tuesdays, of course, is here. DC Alliance Superhero Discussions has been moved for the weekends for Harley Quinn. Uh,
Next week, we're back on Wednesdays, folks. I'm pulling double duty for 2 weeks, and we're getting Rick and Morty returns this Sunday.
oh, that's right.
So, Superhero Discussions will be back on the network on Wednesdays. We'll be doing all Rick and Morty, of course, but there are a couple episodes left of Harley Quinn. So, those will be available. We'll get those out on the weekend for the listeners.
Heinz, I am telling you right now, you said you should download the game or whatever. I am currently leveling up Morty on Multiverses.
You don't
He
even know
is
what he does.
he is
Watch the show.
He is a hard character to manage, I will say that. And I don't get any of the references that he yells out or does in the game whatsoever. But I'm having fun with it. Of course, Rick and Morty is probably going to be pushed into next year, probably for like a limited time on my For the First Times on Patreon. This like Morty and Rick, because Rick hasn't been released yet, on Multiverses probably will convince me even more to watch the show. But I'm telling you, you should download the game because it's not PS5 exclusive like Gotham Knights is, and you should play the game. But with that announcement, with superheroes discussions, of course, we also have after that Star Wars Alliance. Katie and I are going to be reviewing on our next episode this week. We're going to be doing the Lego Star Wars Summer special that's on Disney Plus right now. So we're going to talk about that since technically we are leaving summer already, and the episode next after that. Well, sorry, no. This episode this week will be. Oh wait, no, my schedule's all confused. Summerfest, or Summer Special this week, Solo next week, and the following episode after that, right before Andor, we're going to be talking and reviewing about a book called Rebel Rising. So that is the layout for Star Wars Alliance. Of course, Marvel Alliance is next on our schedule. They are doing She-Hulk right now. Lots of news has come out recently. Still needing to catch up on the Marvel guys, so apologies, Chris and Brent. And then, of course, A Walk to the Multiverse with Joe. I don't know what is on his schedule, but I do know, of course, we were just on there for the bonus episode for Sandman. You guys had a awesome discussion on, if they're going to have a season 2. I really hope so. And we just learned this week that Neil Gaiman himself sabotaged the possible movie that was going to come out a couple years ago, saying that it was
I think
the
it was a long time ago, and statute of limit, or maybe that was a script. I can't remember, but I'm not sure it was a couple years ago. I think it was a while ago. He sabotaged.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
need to look into it a little bit more. I saw a TikTok video of his interview talking about it, and he said it was the worst script he has ever read ever.
He
So
says
I don't
statute
know.
of limitations has run out about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like something that he was just holding really close to the chest because it was related to Sandman, and he kind of just wanted to go all out and saying like, F you guys for trying to destroy something that I created. But I thought it was kind of funny. And then, of course, World's Finest True Believers just had an episode this past week. I can't remember who the guest star was.
I got you covered because it's a great episode. Captain America White. It's with Ryan Lowler from the Batman Book Club. So check
Yes.
that out. It's a great episode. I have the book back there. Just I won't give any spoilers. Just check it out.
It's a really cool book. I've read the Red, White, and Black series for Captain America. Really, really good. And then, of course, we are a listener and an ad-supported network here at the GUA. So we will have ads in this episode. Either Travis or I will let you know when those ads appear to give you a warning for that volume, because we don't choose that volume, or we don't choose the ads for that. Now, DC, Marvel, and Star Wars all have their own solo feeds. So if you would like to listen to those separately, you can always do that. But if not, you can always just stay right here in the GUA feed and listen to everybody. Now, with that, the Patreon is another way that you could support us. $1 tier is just to say thank you, while the $5 tier, of course, is the tier where you have all the goodies. You have the exclusive content, you have the episodes without ads. Like I was saying before, I have kind of dropped the ball on Game of Thrones. I've been kind of busy in the past 2 weeks, so I do apologize. I still need to edit episode 7. I haven't even published it yet, so need to do that. I need to catch up. But I'm looking forward to it because I've been kind of itching to get back into the Game of Thrones thing, especially now with House of the Dragons coming out on HBO Max. But Heinz, you said you had something for Patreon. What's all that about?
Yeah, myself and Joe recorded another DC films through the years. We did Superman 78, a little discussion on that. I have it in the can, folks. It needs to be worked on a little bit. I was supposed to do that today when I got home, but I did not. I had to cook supper and take the dog for a walk, and things got away from me. But I do have it downloaded, ready to go. So you should see that in a day or two come out for patrons. So we'll plug that, but don't worry. That's there. And you should get the Harley Quinn episode a couple days early this week as well. I have to record it on a Thursday.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everybody else's content on the Patreon, Joe with his Multiverse Minutes. I'm not even going to talk about Batman 89 because I don't even know if that's happening anymore. Then, of course, you have the comic book conversations with Katie and Star Wars, the canon conversations with the books and everything else. You have Chris and Brent with We Can Watch This All Day. Last time on the episode that I wasn't a part of last week, you guys had said that they just published the Thor The Dark World. I don't know if they have published any more since then.
No, I think I saw somebody might have tweeted out that they were doing research or something. Take with that what you will, listeners.
That's right. I did see that tweet. So there is all of that. So with that, that is it for the G-Way plugs. You know, I think it's so funny because on that episode that I wasn't a part of, I was able to sneak into the chat very early on, and I was like, "Oh, 5 minutes, and you're still doing the plugs," and here I am at 13.
Yeah, I love that. You listeners come into the chat, gives me crap. I didn't want to say anything when you got past 5 minutes. I was holding it in. I was like, I might have saved it for the end when we got off.
I'm rusty.
Offline, but
I'm rusty. Okay.
yeah.
But Heinz, you have here for the first main topic of the day. Oh, well, Charlie's here saying, "In Big Dan we trust." Yes, Big Dan indeed. All in the game is saying, "Did Gaiman ever publicly given an opinion about the Eternals?" I don't know. I never saw anything. I do know Gaiman, of course, brought his own spin on Eternals and made it just as weird as every other book of Eternals usually is. I will need to do some research on that. I think it would be kind of fun to hear his thoughts on the movie and what he liked and disliked about it. But the main topic, because I know you guys talked about this last week as well, because it was kind of breaking that moment.
Well, we talked about it on our Harley Quinn review. It was at the end of the episode is when it came out. So we discussed it for a couple minutes there. So Joe joined me for that too. So maybe that's I don't think I had it in the notes for last week. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think we had that it was not being picked up by HBO Max.
Yeah, you basically just had, because we had heard like that day that it was canceled, and then no, it wasn't canceled. It's just not being picked up by HBO Max. They're still shopping it around. And we have thus now heard that subscription services such as Hulu, Netflix, and Apple TV Plus are interested in picking this up. Now, preference wise, where would you like to watch this? Because I think
Ah,
I already know where, but I think it's kind of funny if you're able to watch it there because it's Hulu, right? You're wanting
it
to say
does
Hulu because of the fact that it's going to be on Disney
well,
Plus
that
for
would be the
you.
funniest. For me personally, does it really even matter? I don't
No,
think
it it
so. I don't
it
think so at this moment, but
it
it
doesn't.
would be the easiest if it was on Hulu, I think, because it would go to Disney Plus for Canada, and that would be pretty great. I don't know if they're gonna win the bid for that, if they're going up against like Apple, for example. I think this would be a big time get for Apple. I don't know, but Netflix as well. Netflix spends money hand over fist. So,
Well, the
as
really big
Bub
thing.
says, Disney's Batman, Cape Crusader. As Bub says, all I want. It's all I want to see the Disney emblem above Batman for that, especially old school Batman too.
I'm
You know how many man babies that would piss off.
I'm Bruce Wayne, and you're watching Disney Channel. Um, I just think that oh shit, what was I going to say? This whole thing. Do you think they would? Well, for Netflix, they have been pushing back on a lot of their animation, kind of just like how WB
Well,
Discovery is.
that's what their own studio. So I don't know if
True.
they have somebody else on the outside saying, "Here's this animated show we have." So I think this is a smart move for Warner too. To be honest, to if I'm being honest with you, because you get away from all the overhead costs. And if it's a good film, if it's a good show, I mean, you're still going to license it out for extra seasons, and you're going to make money on that. And that's the thing I was talking about when people talk like laugh and scoff about WBD's stock right now. In my opinion, if the company burned to the ground, it could still exist as just licensing off their content to different streamers. It wouldn't be nearly like it would be one tenth of the company, but it still would exist as something just because of the sheer catalog of content that they have. So I just think this is a smart idea.
True.
This is what they did with the CW shows too, Clay. That's how it is.
Yes.
People kept asking, like, how are we getting so many seasons? How are we still getting more of these shows? It's because they had this big deal with Netflix, and you see they cut that deal off. Ideally, I think to eventually move the shows to HBO Max. I think maybe that would have been part of Collire's plan, but since he got cut off and the shows were all see you later, I it
Do you know
seems
what's
like the
just the
best way
biggest kick
just
in
to
the
make
nuts,
more
though?
money.
Do you know what the biggest kick in the nuts about this whole Cape Crusader thing is? That the Cape Crusader leaves HBO Max, is being shopped around, whereas Gotham just became available for HBO Max, and people are like, "Wait, you're going to give us Gotham, and you're going to throw away Cape Crusader?" Like,
I've learned not to throw too many. While I'm not a big fan of the show, apparently there is a Gotham fandom. They got 5 seasons, so they had to be out there enough to get the show. Now, what happened in those 5 seasons, including the Joker, like they ruined some of my favorite parts. For I don't know. I don't like to talk about Gotham.
I have only seen the first season of Gotham. When I heard that, um, what is her name? Mooney, uh, uh,
Fish Mooney.
Fish Mooney was returning for season two. I was like, yeah, no.
I
I don't
watched
want
it.
it.
There was some enjoyable episodes, but for Cape Crusader, I get a bidding war out. Apple, like on the game says, Apple is technically the first streamer to win the Best Picture Oscar for Coda. They can do that stuff, and just getting the money behind it. Look at C, for example. That's a hit show, and that's plastered all over the place. Apple will brand the crap out of this if they get it. So you will get a lot of eyes on this. Maybe people that wouldn't necessarily check this show out if it was on HBO Max, because
You
HBO
know,
Max is rather
and
limited in its availability, whereas some of these places are worldwide, which that's what your
yeah,
goal is.
and for me, I've always said, and I'm still in the big proponent of in the future because I still, hashtag Clay told you so. I still think Discovery is quite possibly, if all of this shit that's going down with Discovery is going downhill 2 years from now, I think they're selling. I still want Apple to purchase WB and have all the rights to DC and have exclusive content there. But with everything that had just happened with their most recent film, animated film, Unlucky, I think it was, or Lucky, or whatever it was. I know there was a lot of controversy over the people making that because they were kicked out of Disney for not so great things. And I think something like the Cape
Oh
Crusader
yeah.
can bring people
Ooh.
who love animation back to Apple TV. So I think it would be a great choice for Apple to pick up Cape Crusader for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely an option. But like I said, any of these streaming services, they're going to really pump into this because I think this is the spiritual successor to Batman the animated series. So and the people involved in that, I can understand why WBD passed on this. Like it still could make money. It's you just don't incur those costs that the streaming service is going to get, and you're going to get money for it upfront, and that's kind of what they're looking for: upfront money like this. This helps.
Yeah, on the game says C is a good, not great show, but the action scenes are pretty impressive, but just a notch behind Warrior on Cinemax. I have not seen Warrior, so I would not be able to compare the two.
Trust your
Um,
judgment. I trust your judgment on the game.
so the next topic we have here is Ezra meets with WBD with new studio heads, DeLuca and all of them. So we heard about this and we didn't really get too much out of it, but what were your thoughts on this?
I saw a report today said it went well, but that's about we're not going to get anything from the meeting if those three people are and his agent are the only four in there. Obviously, you're going to have scoopers say this happened or that happened, and that's I think is all purely speculative. But you knew this was going to come, Clay, like at some point. But both WBD and Ezra have been like crazily silent in the public about everything.
Well,
So
we did hear some of these quotes from Ezra saying that like, oh, he noticed that like once it really started to like have him question his like basically job availability after the Flash, like, hey,
Well,
maybe I
he
should
he
start.
kinda said he didn't care about the bad headlines because they're just headlines, and that part got skirted a little bit, and we just got the I didn't care until they told me I was gonna lose my job, and then I got super
Exactly.
so I think it's a little like that quote is a little bit more to that, but it's still it's just like I don't know. I'm like we haven't talked about this a lot, folks, because we don't know. You get kind of conflicting reports coming a couple days later, and we're not gonna I'm not gonna come out here and say he deserves to go to jail, or I'm not gonna come out here and say he deserves to be scot free and have no repercussions because I don't know half of the stuff. There's only like a couple legal pages of like arrests, a
I
little
I
like
I genuinely think though, just because of the what's the right verbiage here?
controversy,
The controversy that this has caused
scuttlebutt,
WB
scuttlebutt.
scuttlebutt is
Outside,
another.
sorry, the sports term. I can't believe I didn't use that. Outside noise.
Yeah, outside noise also. This has caused WB. I think it's kind of hard to mend that relationship.
There's only
Um,
one way that relationship mends, Clay. And you know it, and I know it, and it makes the world go round. And it's the only thing David Zaslav is concerned. If this film comes out and makes $1.1 billion, David Zaslav's going to be like, "What else do you want to do? Do you
what
want your own
charges? What are you talking
do
about?
you want your
You know,
own island to run free on? Is that
well,
like
no, and the thing is, and this kind of goes into the same
it's
conversation that a lot of
terrible, but
people.
that is what
Well, and the
But
big
that's
thing
if
that I was going to
everything
say.
alleged is true too. Like we don't know. That's why it's hard for us to be like, yeah, no, what Clay says is right. Even if he's not, the outside noise, people aren't going to want to touch you with 10-foot pole because there's going to be a big uh, veil of controversy behind you. So like it's yeah.
And we had been speaking about this outside of the DC Alliance and our GUA chat, and we had also started to hear more and more people. And Snell said it best. Oh well, now that they can be anonymous, and there is now a quote unquote reputation of Ezra doing these kinds of things, it's coming out more and more that he has not had the greatest rapport in studios while filming and things like that. So, like, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But
That's what
we
you're gonna
know
get that. You're gonna get that come out, like, unnamed source who worked
exactly,
on such and
exactly,
such project. This is just, like, come out of
and that's
woodworks.
going to come into a later conversation that we're going to have
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
roundup of
It's
news. But
very easy to take shots when you don't put your name behind things, and you leave out any sort of way for people to be like, okay, who made this quote? If
No,
you do
no
that,
context to anything exactly.
yeah.
But one thing that we do know that is kind of causing again outside noise, scuttlebutt, whatever, is that currently the Flash in all the screenings have been scoring as high as that of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, which is some of the highest scores that WB has received in all of their films. So this is looking to be a good film. I'm not going to say great, because I know that there are a lot of people with a lot of opinions on all three of those Batman films. Uh, but it makes me curious as of how this is all going to play out, because we know about the changes of the release dates and everything else, which we will get to next. But like recently, we had just heard right before jumping on here that Aquaman 2, now being after the Flash, is being worked on. Is I don't know if it's being rewritten or things are changing in that capacity, but it is being worked on to be, I think it's saying, being reworked to fit that of after the Flash. And even Jason Momoa has said some things on the red carpet for the premiere for C, making comments like, "Oh yeah, Ben is back, and there may or may not be one or more Batman or whatever." Like, I think he's playing coy and everything else.
I think I saw the best tweet. Someone quoted it and said, "I guess WB contacted Jason and told him to stop talking and give the standard answers because he couldn't have sounded more confusing," which is WB's go-to method. I kind of roared at that. That was pretty funny. Also, there are rumors out there from our friend Umberto about an appearance by, and I'm not even going to say it anymore, even though I still have
So,
hope. I still have hope. I still
that
have it.
is
I still
going to
have it, listeners.
be. Can we jump on that real quick? No, like
We
let's have that conversation, because
Yeah.
I know it's in the roundup and we're going to talk more about the Blue Beetle stuff later. But I was attempting to listen to that Twitter space. I got a very important phone call in the middle of it, so I was literally in and out. I tried to pass the phone to Abby so I can go back and listen to it, and then like Abby like had it on speakerphone and then walked all the way back, so I had to pause it, and like I was getting very frustrated that I had to re-listen to it all over again the next day. But of course, Eric Davis over at I believe it is
Fandom Wire, maybe?
no, not Fandom Wire. I think it is. Oh shoot! I know he does stuff for Rotten Tomatoes, and I can't remember the other thing that he does. But him and Umberto Ramos talked about everything with Batgirl, some updates with Blue Beetle, which we'll talk about, and then Eric Davis was talking about a small little question that somebody
Fandango.
had. Fandango is what? Yeah, yeah. I was like, it's something. I knew the logo was orange, and I was like, it's not Cinema Blend. It's got to be something else. Fandango. Um, but there was a listener that had a question about Henry Cavill, and Umberto said, "I'm going to stop you right there. I can't say anything because it would be a spoiler." Now, this made the internet kind of blow up for a few seconds. Um, we had kind of heard, I think it was some random person on Twitter around the time of San Diego Comic Con that kind of uh, put fuel to the fire with the whole San Diego Comic Con appearance thing. That,
Then
you know,
deleted their tweet.
yes,
Yeah.
but this whole thing about like Henry doing some reshoot stuff. So I want your opinion. Although I kind of already know your opinion because you are the most positive person on this podcast, quite possibly podcast network. So I want to know, what does this mean for you as a fan of DC and like the future of the DC films, Dan Lin? Because I know that's going to be a conversation that we're going to have also later. Like, is this like? Because I'll tell you this right now, and I'll get more into detail after you give yours. I I feel like Hawkeye. Like, I can't give me like nothing can give me hope right now. Like I don't want it, to be honest. I don't want any hope. Um
With those reports that Godot is going to play, have a half decently like action packed scene in Shazam 2 as well, and Ben Affleck in Aquaman and Ben Affleck in Flash. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be supremely happy of all of them if Henry Cavill came back and we got him in the. I do not want. I like it really pissed me off at the end of Shazam. Like I really enjoy Shazam so much. Like I really enjoy that film. I was genuinely pissed off when we walked out and saw that it was a headless Superman. I know it works for people, and maybe you're not allowed to be pissed off, even though I enjoyed 95% of the movie. I thought that was kind of stupid. If you
Now,
do that for me again in Black Adam, I'm going to not like it. It's going
well,
to
and
piss
here's
me
the
off.
thing. So literally, like I
Don't
think the
have
day before or 2 days before, I had posted in our DC Alliance chat with, of course, you and Snell. Um, I had heard that there was a possible copy paste cameo appearance of Superman and Black Adam, the
Oh,
headless
that's been going
Superman,
around for quite a
for
while
for a
now.
while, and it started with this whole rumors of the Amanda Waller scene being this like this end credits or whatever. But Umberto is seemingly kind of saying no, that's not it. There is going to be, you're going to know it's Henry. Um, And then there is this other rumor throwing around, take it with a huge grain of salt because I think it would be way too crazy for this to happen, but who knows? There is a rumor out there stating that at the end of Black Adam, you see Batman and Superman in the Batcave, looking at footage of things that happened throughout the movie, and then Batman stating, "Oh, this is the guy that we have to look out for." Like, I think that's too much detail
No, you
to.
think that's too awesome that it would be put in the film. That's exactly it. Don't say too detailed. You just
I
yeah,
no, no, but
if that was at the end of the film, that would blow your socks off. That would knock your socks. You'd be like, "Oh my god, I
but
did
I'm
not
not going to
expect
see the
this." Like,
movie, so it's like
you'll eventually see it. Give it up. You're just like, I'm never going to see it. You'll see it when it comes
I'll
out on
probably see it
Blu-ray.
right here in this chair, but I
Yeah,
won't. I won't go to the theater to watch it.
that's
Like
fine. I'll go. I'll buy a couple Zola Zola. Sorry. For you.
Jesus, no.
Throw them in one of those big cups. I wonder will they have like a Zoa drink fountain for the film? No, that's getting too much into.
I mean, who knows? But there was those rumors out there, and I don't think it would be because, like you said, I think it's way too awesome. And I think that it has too much detail. I think that somebody just kind of made that up because that just sounds like a fan dream. Uh, but I don't know, man. I and Snell was like talking all this shit about The Rock before and like saying, "Oh, I don't think it's gonna do that great." The moment Umberto said, "Oh, I can't say anything; it's a spoiler," Snell was like, "The Rock is the best. We have him to thank for everything." You know, it's just so stupid. And I gave my 2 cents in the G-Way chat. I don't like these people that truly believe their shit doesn't stink. Like, and The Rock is definitely that kind of
I
person.
okay, no. You first of all, there's no way you can say definitely because you don't know
100%.
no from watching like 4 or 5 clips to build up the Black Adam, the Rock
No, no, no,
stink.
no, no, not Black Adam. Like every single film, like
He's
everything, every piece of promotion that he's done, like everything, the kind of
how
person that
many
he
of
is.
all
Like
how many of all those Make a Wish grants? How many of all the Make a Wish appearances did he make? Was him being a shitty person? Gotta ask. Just genuinely
no,
curious.
you don't have to be a shitty person to to think that your shit don't stink. It's just the way that he is. Like he
I just think he's a
heavily gives that
positive.
vibe.
I think he's just a positive person. No, like he's like 98% and stuff is funny. I'm worried about the film just because of the views for that I see for trailers and stuff compared to even Shazam.
It's the most
So
expensive movie ever in existence, Heinz. Didn't you know that?
he's he likes to speak in hyperbole. It's the Rock. It's his thing, you know. Like he, he wasn't really turning that some bit sideways and sticking it straight up somebody's candy ass. Like this is
Oh
the way he
man.
speaks. I'm excited to see the film. He did share a pretty cool uh, picture of Doctor Fate as well, a poster. But
But
Clay, we also got some negative news this week as
yeah,
well with
with
DC film dates
the
changing. What did you think
changed
about that?
dates. So, of course, we had heard rumors that Aquaman was gonna shift and possibly Shazam, but then they made the official announcement with Aquaman moving to Shazam's date. Or no, sorry, Shazam moving to Aquaman's date, and then Aquaman shifting all the way down to December of 2023. And it's one thing to like do that and just be like, man, that's a really shitty move. Like I was really, really excited for Shazam more than Black Adam. But then we get more news on the fact of the reason why this is happening.
Because it was
And
going to be crushed by.
no. Not only that, but all of this news about WB not having enough money to push out more than and then adjusted 3 films. Because they did say 2, but then like, oh wait, no, they are putting a movie
They
where
have
Shazam was.
$55 billion of debt too. Like it is a considerable thing here, and they will probably have to find like co-financiers for a lot of this stuff as well to help
It is
facilitate some of these things.
mind-boggling the shit that they have been going through. And
But that's what was going through before. It's just that. S-Pubs, I don't even know if I can read that out. S-Pubs.
says this is just a reminder that if Henry Cavill gets announced as Superman once again tomorrow at Comic-Con, nobody will be more hyped than me. But All in the Game also said outside of the ensemble Fast and Furious and Jumanji franchises, The Rock's top 10 movies average theatrically grossing $321.5 million, and even that's massively aided by Mona's 635. And then he corrected 321.5 million.
Yeah, on the game, a lot of those were like did not cost what Black Adam cost to make either. So if he makes that 321.5, that's not going to cut it at all. But I don't know how this is going to go, because I think the JSA is going to be awesome. I feel like this could, if people hear that Superman is in this, I feel like you could get another injection just from that. And I think that's what Rock has been hitting around, because he hasn't outright said either way. If he knew that Henry Cavill wasn't going to be Superman, he would say like something along the lines of like Henry Cavill. He would say, if he knew that Henry Cavill wasn't going to be Superman anymore, he would say something along the lines of like, Henry was a great Superman, and I look forward to working with whoever is going to pick up the cape next. Something along those lines, if he knew.
That's exactly what he's been saying.
No, he has not. He's
that's
never
basically
said
what he said in San Diego.
No, he's not. No, he never, Clay. He's just said that. He just talked about how great Henry Cavill was. He didn't say nothing about. He said, "We'll see who Superman." Then the next quote, when he's there by himself,
he said,
getting
"It depends on who's wearing the cape."
Yeah, he didn't say, "I look forward to working with who's next with the cape." He didn't say that. He just said, "Depending on who's wearing the cape," leaving it open. And I think that is The Rock knowing that if he has Superman in there, it's going to help his box office. And I think that's the basic
All in the Game.
thing.
I was super confused when you said aided by Mona's 635. I was like, what is that? He did correct himself, Moana. Me and Abby literally just watched that again last night. S-Bub says he'd say, you'll just have to watch and find out. And I don't know, man. Just like, again, you're the financial guy. You're the one that looks up all of this stuff. I see the numbers that are face value, and I understand that. I can't get my mind up like across the like I guess the spider web that you would have to go through to figure out everything. But when I hear these headlines and I read what's going on and I see like literally the curve is just dropping for WB, like it's not looking great.
But that's the way it's going to happen. These decisions had to be made by AT&T, but they didn't make them, because when they purchased WB, they still had a shit ton of debt. They did nothing with that. Only, you know what they did? Increase their debt. So they bootleg. What, you know what AT&T did after a couple of years? They jettisoned off WB because it was like just taking them down. So,
but here's my question: if they only have
to be made, sorry.
If they only have the money to push out 3 films for the rest of this year, what does that mean for 2023? Do they just are hoping and praying that Black Adam and Don't Worry Darling are going to be massive hits and save some of that cost for?
Well, they'll have a budget for next year's films, and they'll pick the ones that they think are going to be successful. Clearly, they think a couple DC films are going to be successful, as they have them already slated here.
And
I
the
wanted
secret
to talk
event film,
Blue Beetle, Magic Mike 3 is what people are saying that is.
Yeah.
But even that'll get people, for the amount of money you're going to spend, that's going to get people into the door. You won't get me, but you'll get a lot of people watching those films. I wanted to ask you because Blue Beetle was even included in this tweet, and there's been nothing about it getting axed. And it's like I said, are you at all going like, whew, dodged the first initial wave of bullets? Like,
But yes and no, because just like Umberto said, they have just about over half of the movie completed as far as the filming. What we were hearing last week that I posted in the GWA chat, well, on the game says, so you're saying Black Adam does more or less than Shazam's 366 million?
more. I would hope because
We
it
hope.
would not be sandwiched between Captain Marvel $1 billion and Endgame $1 billion or Infinity War. I can't remember one of those two. It was sandwiched between Captain Marvel
It's
and that Endgame.
I will say this, due to Halloween being simulcast on streaming and theatrical, that is going to hurt Halloween and it's going to give more money to Black Adam.
Yeah,
But I also have to put into account, okay, this is October, it's the middle of the school year. Like, I think that has to play with something as well.
good
Um,
or bad? Good because people need something to do on the weekends after getting out of a
well,
week of school, or
I would say bad, because I
okay.
think that families do have to look into what is going to be a
Well,
movie
this
that they
isn't.
go and
I don't
see.
think this is a family film either.
I
Like,
I don't think so either, but it's The Rock, and when people see The Rock, they say, "Oh, that's a family film,"
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah. Well, like, yeah, we can have a
For
good time. Kid,
for most
as
of
kids
the
love
stuff.
The Rock. Hey, as
Exactly.
folks, I love The Rock. I grew up on The Rock. Now, not
Now,
this Rock. He was noticeably slimmer.
so I will say this, I think that it does make
Thank you, all in the game.
it was released, and I was just about to ask what other properties were
Yeah,
released in October.
I
Now,
think
I will say
Deadpool
this
one,
though,
maybe. I'm not
I will
sure.
say this though, as much as people like to deny it, the controversy that followed the release of Joker actually helped it get more people interested in saying, "What is all this controversy about?" And they went to go see the movie. Now, that's why I'm kind of in the mix as of on the game's question about how much money it's going to make. I honestly have to wait and see.
I think it'll make more than that on the game. I hope it does. If it doesn't, it'll be a disappointment, in my opinion. If it doesn't make more than 366 worldwide.
But in going back to our conversation about these titles moving, we did also see uh, that James Wan posted some concept art, like, and somebody made the joke of like, "Oh, he's releasing this art because he doesn't even know if his movie's going to be made." I definitely think that it will. It's very odd because at some like capacity of my mind, I'm just thinking, scrap it, pay all those people, and then just start over after the Flash.
Oh my God!
Um,
How much more debt do you want than to incur? Geez, 55 billion is not enough. Let's
but
scrap all these
hey,
films we have in.
but if you have a good plan, and if you're going to do this whole 10-year thing that they're claiming to be, that may be the best choice.
Well, maybe they might already have their plan in place. Who knows? But
Again, the whole idea of soft reboot, we still have a lot to get as far as information to the public in order to even make those guesses.
we got a new potential head of DC Studios, though, Clay, and
Yes, we
that's
do.
kind of what I want to talk about here. And that is Dan Lin is in the pole position for top spot. And from the Deadline article, essentially it says the sense around town is that he has the pole position. Uh, and like Marvel's boss, Kevin Feige brings the best of both worlds. Lin is a franchise producer of such movies as It, Sherlock Holmes, the Lego franchise, and big branded titles like Aladdin. And even better, he's a former Warner Brothers studio executive. He's the kind of guy that Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav would savor. Lin being a Harvard Business School MBA grad, another plus, former Warner Brothers motion picture boss Alan Horn turned current Zaslow advisor, was a mentor to Lin. And I want to know, what do we think of Lin? Do we think, with his backgrounds in films, and he was a champion of Justice League Mortal, of course, Do we think this is a good thing for DC? What do you think, Clay? After you heard that Dan Lin may be taking, did you go do a little deep dive on the films he produced?
I did. And of course, if you guys have not listened to the Geekverse guys talk about this, I highly recommend that because they also looked into the movies that he has done in the past
Hmm.
and some of his projects that he is kind of locked in right now currently.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that he can't be let go from those to accept um, this offer that has technically not even been made yet. Um, but the whole thing, I did listen to that podcast a little bit, that segment when he was talking about Justice League Immortal and everything, and I think this would be his swan song to uh his comeback story, his like, hey, take it to the man. You didn't let me make a Justice League Immortal, but now I get to make the entire franchise in my image. um I think it's good. I honestly think it's good. I have yet, and I know people are gonna like be wowed by this. I have yet to see Lego Batman. I have only seen him in
He
the
did
Lego
it.
movie.
He did the Lego movies too, both of them. So,
Yeah,
and that first one was like one of the biggest hits. Like it was
I really enjoyed the
anything is possible. That sign was
everything.
all over the
Everything
place.
is
Everything,
awesome.
everything is
Thank you.
awesome. See,
Everything
sorry,
is
I
awesome
don't
is the
know.
song.
I'm sick of that sign. That sign was like a
No,
year.
dude, I listened to that thing for like a week straight. It was amazing.
It was
Um, but I I think this is good. He has a passion for the franchise. Yeah, Espobs has been saying it like ever since this conversation has started with Dan Lin. That Lego Batman is peak Batman. Um, but I think with Dan Lin, we would get the Batman that I want, and so that is what I'm really hoping for. Um, Now there has been an article today that dropped from Variety that says
Emma
that
Watts.
Emma Watts is also in the running. So it's
Yeah.
not clearly Dan Lin's to take. So
Well, Zaslav really gonna hire a woman? He kind of seems like he might be allegedly. Sorry, allegedly. That was.
that was great.
Thank you, thank
Oh
you, thank you,
man.
thank you. Just the opportunity just came right in. Obviously, I
Well,
don't
and
know
the thing
that.
is, I haven't really looked at Emma Watts' filmography. I haven't seen what she has been a part of. Now, Snell looked into it very quickly after I made notes that she was still in the running, and he was like, "Oh man, Dwayne would love this because she was the one that produced Tooth Fairy, which was one of Rock's first like solo projects on his own." Um, I don't know. I'm gonna root for Dan Lin because I know his background as far as his passion for DC. Uh, Now, a lot of people want to like throw shade at him already and talk crap about him about the whole Snyder bot thing. I don't even care, honestly.
No, I did.
Uh,
Just come on. That's stuff I don't
so
pay attention to. I don't even know what he said. I don't pay attention to that.
like he basically agreed with the hosts that were like, "Oh yeah, like the Snyder bots," and he's like, "Oh
Uh,
yeah, the Snyder bots." Um, but I think this is a good choice. Just like how Snell and the Geek First guys has now dubbed him Big Dan Lin. I think that is the go-to for now.
I
Uh
don't know if I'm. I gotta see him work before I call him Big Dan.
I genuinely think, and the thing is, because of Mortal, if it is a soft reboot, I genuinely believe his first film is a Justice League movie.
I don't know if it's that far enough out that it could. Well, that is an interesting way to go. I've thrown it out to you as the past. Like, could they go that possible route if he were to reboot? But it all
Because
depends with
you
everything.
mentioned the possibility of making it like the Justice League premiere on the animated side.
Secret
That
Origins parts one,
that
2, 3.
yeah, that was a three-parter. You were able to get enough background to introduce the other characters. And the thing is, if it's a soft reboot, we know the characters. The only thing that we have to find out is, okay, what are they doing with Ezra? Are they bringing back Jason Momoa? Are they bringing in any other characters to add on to this Justice League? Or are they taking the exact same characters and putting them in? Now, I do think it would be a large disservice to DC as a whole to not bring in a Green Lantern into the Justice League this time. And I think that's where you start is by introducing like the what's the extraterrestrial
Extraterrestrial element. Yeah.
element of the DC universe with the Green Lanterns. And I think that would be a pretty crazy and wild story to start off and then push everybody out to their solo projects. Now, on the game says, major thing he has over Feige is his experience of producing far more non-superhero movies. So technically his range, but has significantly less superhero movies on his flip side. Yes, and that is what we have discussed in the sense of our Black Label conversation, is that you can have superhero movies with a range of genres. And I think Dan Lin could bring that into the DCEU,
Well, that's
which is still
when
a good
Marvel's
thing.
at its best as well. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I don't know. I was talking about Marvel here, obviously on DC Alliance, but the streaming shows, all of them are different than the one that came before it. They're completely different things. So, yeah, that will be a thing. I hope. I'm excited. I don't know if this guy's going to get the job. Obviously, somebody could come out of left field yet, but it seems like Zaslav is narrowing in on his choice, Clay. And
Yeah, and Umberto had even said that he assumes that an offer will be made soon. I see we getting an announcement before the end of September.
ooh,
Yeah,
before Black Adam, that would be that.
yeah.
I could see that. Okay, Clay, you put something on the docket here because we're going to do a DC news roundup before we get into the Smallville episode to end the night. Zack Snyder's Justice League should have never happened, apparently, from the
Yes,
Variety article.
this is from the Variety article, and it's at the very very end of this article, and I kind of just want to read this really quick. It says, privately, studio insiders have laminated that Zack Snyder's Justice League never should have happened, rather than quiet the unceasing online campaigning to release the Snyder Cut. The 4-hour HBO Max feature only furthered further entrenched the vocal and extremely
Online.
entrenched the vocal and extremely online Snyderverse fan base in opposition to the leadership at the studio in general and at DC in particular. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because of course, I know that you've blocked a lot of these accounts. I have blocked more and more
Give
recently,
you my tally.
but the conversation is still making its way on my feed. So I wanted to bring this up because a lot of these individuals also believe that uh, Zaslav is going to make the Snyderverse return and all of that bullshit. I genuinely believe that, and it's hard to gauge this, like you said before we started recording, because I brought this up before we started recording, is I genuinely believe is Zaslav was in charge at the time of BVS going into Justice League. I genuinely believe everything with Joss Whedon would have never happened. And I genuinely believe that all the stuff with Zack Snyder probably still would have happened but I think Zaslav would have, with how cutthroat he is, I think he would have cut it at the knees very, very soon. And we would have never seen the Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a very distinct possibility. You definitely could have had him cut things after he could have fired him. I see him as being that kind of guy that could do that if he didn't get the returns that he was looking for on things. I think this is hilarious because obviously this is people on the way out. And sorry, what did the movie prove? That you were wrong in your edits and what was taken out and what was put in? Because legitimately everything that they took out that was different, I was like, why did you take that out? Minus the nightmare stuff at the end. I could see that being cut from a film pretty quickly if you want to save some time. But the majority of stuff, I'm like, why did you cut that? And a lot of the enjoyable stuff from the Justice League was not even shot by him that I
Yeah.
enjoyed. So Regardless, I'm sorry that you felt that way. I'm sorry that you felt like we tricked you, a billion-dollar studio, into producing a film. I'm glad that you did it because I have the 4K edition at my in my like home media here, so I can always watch the trilogy. And I will continue to watch stuff going forward because I'm not one of those crazy people. Close to 2,000 account spot.
Dude,
We're close. We're
I
close.
literally refreshed Twitter, and the very first thing that shows up is viewer anon. People know him as a semi scooper and insider for stuff. He says he retweeted that tweet about the whole Zack Snyder thing. And he said not dropping Zack Snyder during post production also would have prevented the fan base from turning against the studio. Now, I am hesitant to say that Zaslav wouldn't have fired Zack Snyder. Um, Again, because of everything that is happening, I don't want to have my personal feelings with the cutting of diversity and everything else get in the way of the fact that I think he would have seen the return of BVS still, because it still made money regardless
Yeah.
of what
Oh,
people were saying.
great. What are you talking about? It made
Um,
$2. That's what people. There's no context. It made
yeah,
$8.73, I think.
yeah. So I think he would have said, "Okay, we're gonna stop production." And then, because what was the one thing that he said over the video call or the investors call? We're not going to drop a movie that isn't finished. And I'm sorry, I think Zaslav would have seen that freaking CGI chin on Superman and would have said, "Hell no!" Like I
Well,
genuinely think
you
that.
know the reason that it got pushed out, Clay, was so that people would get bonuses. That is why the movie got pushed out, and well, that is the main reason why people wanted to make their bonuses.
Well,
So it's
with it
just
being Zaslav, that
greed.
may have been the case also. So
Well, I don't know if he's going to get a bonus like the big hit honcho, if he's going to get a bonus from that, or if he's more so about like the overall grand scheme of things. If he doesn't go up or go down from one pitcher or anything like that. So I just thought it was kind of a joke, that whole headline. Like I said, people taking shots on their way out. And sorry that you felt that way, but I want to talk about something a lot more positive, something that I loved hearing Umberto talk about in that little Twitter space with Eric Davis. He saw a sizzle reel for Blue Beetle play. There is footage of Blue Beetle put together to entice people to watch the film. What do you think about this? Especially,
yeah,
did you
if
listen to what
I
he said? Because
if I remember correctly, he said that it's going to be in front of like school ads and like something in regards to like, oh, this is what you do for like back to school products like backpacks and things like that. It's going to be in front of there. And if that's the case, why haven't I seen the fucking thing yet, you know?
well,
Um
August 20,
it
several movies behind the
yeah, yeah, I
after
understand. I understand for sure. Uh but Umberto seems very passionate about this project, and
said emotional. He said he like
he
made him
almost yeah, he
feel.
said he said that he almost cried in the room that he was being shown this.
He also said
Um
something what I think was awesome. He said the family knows that he's Blue Beetle, and
and
there's a
if this
lot.
isn't the most
He said all the family members want to offer up their opinions on
and
him.
if that isn't the most Mexican thing I have ever heard in my entire life, I think uh it's gonna be great. I think honestly, the fact that the family knows, the fact that you have somebody like Sholo, and then
He spoke
riffing off
highly
of
of him as well.
a potential, of course, George Lopez in the same room, I think it's gonna be great. I'm still very excited about this, but like Umberto has also said, which I didn't really get to say early on in the podcast, is this does not have the ultimate green light. Like, it's still like one wrong thing can move this to like never happening. Uh so I
Which I don't know. I don't know about that because it all depends on like their next year too. Like if you have a couple good movie performances in a row with good things, you might be
well,
on a different footing going into next year. Because if it's shot and if you can get posts done, then you have a sitting film in the can for them to try to make money on. So
yes,
that's the
but
name of the game.
as
The
as I said,
principle is done, right? Principle has been
al-
finished. I'm
almost almost,
No, I
because
think they're doing pickups now, I think.
I wasn't entirely sure because of the incident that had happened in Puerto Rico.
I think that was part of their
We
pickups.
we found out that that whole side of production quit,
Yeah.
because they felt unsafe, which is their right. I 100% agree with anybody who decides,
But
"Hey,
it wasn't
we
as big of
almost
a
got
deal
shot." Well,
as one
they
of the scoopers was making it. They made it seem that, like, everything was being shut down, and I can't
no, no,
remember
no,
which one was that. Was that KC? Was that
no, 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 no. What Casey had said was, I heard what happened and I totally understand why the budget has now been pushed up.
okay?
Um, and what he meant by that is because everybody quit. And so they're having to rehire, well, not rehire, but hire new crew to film those pickups. And I totally understand that. And if something like that were to happen again, I honestly don't know if they would be able to recover. Um, just because of how unknown this character is, I don't know if you would be able to convince Zaslav this is worth attempting again. Um, so I'm gonna hope for the best. Like every once in a while we talk about our screens and whatnot, our screensavers on our phones and everything. Since that first reveal, it has not changed on my phone
Nice.
or on my home screen. Like, I am still the biggest proponent for this movie. Um, I was really, really scared that it was going to be cut immediately after Batgirl, but I cannot say that I'm no longer going to worry until I'm sitting in that theater watching that movie.
That is a good point. Well, you got to do that. Well, a lot of DC films at this point, even that Black Adam, but mostly because they're pushing back out to actually do the promotion for Black Adam. That obviously that one's coming out, but you can't really say obviously with a lot when it comes to WB and their projects. I'm super excited for this, Clay. Like I said, I loved hearing everything that Umberto was saying about that, and like I said, I knew I was going to love it anyway. But if you give me that family dynamic that he was speaking about, I'm all for that. I'm all for the family knowing at times too. That's one of the things I enjoyed about Miss Marvel when it got to the end of that was that her whole family. You don't have the pathetic trying to keep it because if you're younger, it's very hard to keep up a super secret identity from your parents and that, especially when you get curfew and all this stuff. Like I assume at certain points she was waiting, her mother was waiting for her in a bed. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this. And like you said before, the costume is amazing. It is awesome.
Yeah.
So, Clay, on a bit of a bummer note, there's been funeral screenings for Batgirl at WB Lot. I got to ask you because this is the first time I've ever heard about this. What do you think about this? Even doing this, I feel like this is like a kick in the nuts to the people that
I think it is a kick in the
are there.
nuts. And I think if you were to type in Google or do any type of research of funeral screenings, I think this is the first one. Um, I don't think it's precedented at all for anything to be like this to happen, but I do think that because of the backlash, I think that's why they're doing it. I don't think if the backlash didn't happen, this would have never been a possibility
That's a
for
very
the
good
cast and
point.
crew. Now everybody's saying, "Oh, I hope it leaks. I hope it leaks. I hope it leaks." I don't think that's going to happen. I genuinely think
No,
this
I
is
don't think so. There's
I think this is a screening, one of those screenings where it's like, hey, you either put your phone in the bag or you don't see this movie.
yeah,
So
100%,
I
100%.
I think that they got to see it, which is great for them. But it's a really big bummer that I will never get to see Leslie Grace in that costume again.
I would have loved to see that film. That would have been awesome. I think it would have been a great film. I don't trust them. People saying it wouldn't have been good. And in the big, much to do about nothing of the last a couple weeks ago about Matt Reeves' Batman not going ahead, the Batman 2 script is
Damn it!
getting started in the next couple weeks with Matt Reeves and Tomlin. And also, the Batman filmmaker Matt Reeves has inked the overall film and TV deal with Warner Brothers, which I think should make people a little bit more confident to see the two shows that he had planned to go with the Batman universe, because the TV deal Kind of makes it sound like that. It might go. Maybe it might not go to HBO Max, but I think it will.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, but shit happens, I guess.
That's just the way it is. We got a little bit of concept art too, Clay, for the Aquaman 2, which I thought it looked pretty cool. You got Black Manta and Black Manta and Aquaman fighting. You have a gigantic, crazy war. You have some underground traveling. Not underground. This looks like winter traveling with, and then this crazy scene of Aquaman and what looks like Mira and him going to fight some people that are going to shoot. I'm
I
excited for this film, but I don't know anything about it other than Jason Momoa said it's going to be a much more fun than the first one.
Yeah, we've heard that it's gonna. I wouldn't say it's gonna play out like a comedy. I think if you like the first one, you're gonna like the second one.
Agreed.
Because I this kind of goes into the same detail of, and we didn't pick it up as a conversation to talk about just because there was nothing backing out these claims, but like the Esposito rumors of like Mr. Freeze. Um,
You're going to get
you
new one of those out every time until he's cast in one of
exactly
these superhero
you
shows.
you
Magneto
can't
and Professor X was all the time for
yeah
weeks.
you can't veer away from what made you $1 billion. So I think that this is going to be uh, probably a little bit more action heavy than the first one. Um, but I do think that with the reworks that they're doing, possibly that it may not be what we expect. So
I
who
think this
knows?
is whatever Matt Reeves wants to do with this. I think this is going to exist on its own thing, just because it has successful. The first film was, and kind of even still people still got to realize we were still in COVID when this came out. So and it's not building on multiple in a universe. It was its own thing. So I think that's pretty darn good for what it did. And yeah, Matt Reeves, I think that's just smart for them to lock them up after what they did, but after them falling out with Chris Nolan, it's kind of smart. And Clay, the final thing before we get into our Smallville episode, I'm going to share my screen for this because we get a new poster from Rock in theaters. It's the characters from his movie in Black Adam. We get Black Adam. We have Dr. Fate over here, Hawkman, Cyclone, and I'm blanking on his name right now. It's driving
Adam
me crazy.
Smasher,
Adam Smasher. There we go. Yeah, Edge played him in Smallville.
the Deadpool lookalike. Yeah,
Yeah, which I'm really excited to see him because I love the whole embiggen power. I love Ant Man when he's gigantic, giant man. So yeah, I thought that was cool. That's gonna be cool to see in theaters, and I can't wait for this film. So Clay, you don't have my. You're like,
I will say this. I will say this. You're right. I will eventually see the film. It will not be in theaters. Because Abby has put me on a strict no going out. That month. That is the month, of course, the baby is due. So we shall see when I see it. Might happen in time to at least enjoy everybody's conversation for the review. But of course, I won't be joining there anyway. So we'll see.
yeah, so we have a final thing to get through tonight. Our episode 7 review of Smallville, Craving. Clay, we missed you on the last 2 episodes. We kind of wrapped both of those up. We missed one, and Joe had already watched it. It kind of worked out. But what do you think about this 7th episode? We have a big time guest star that the guys on the podcast would not stop talking about how big time and successful she was after
Because
this
it's
show.
Amy Adams, you know?
Exactly. So
And I genuinely love how much they talked about her. And they weren't obsessing. They were genuinely like, oh crap, this person is a lot better actor than any of us right now.
she
Um,
was zoned in. Welling talked about a couple times, which I thought was really cool. He was like, she
yeah,
was just
she
on
she
point.
didn't step on any toes, and she was just there to do her job, which I think is great. I really love this episode. I've loved this episode ever since it aired. I don't know why I love this episode so much. I think it's because it's one of the few episodes that have, and I'm surprised Rosenbaum didn't talk more about it just because I know he's a big horror buff. Um, but like this had the genuine element of like
S-Bubs says you don't want to be like that guy on Reddit who wanted to go see the Batman opening night when his baby was due. S-Bubs Clay shared that and said, would it be bad if I was like that? Go
Oh, well,
closer to when the due date?
this was back when the Flash was still set
Yeah.
for October or November.
Yeah.
And I had shared that Reddit post to Abby, and I said,
And in
"Hey,
our
just so
GUA
you
chat.
know, this might be a possibility." And then Katie ripped me a new one in our GUA chat, and she's like, "Don't you dare!" Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, "Okay, not happening, I guess." But back to Smallville. Um, this had a genuine like horror-esque like feel to it every single time Amy Adams was by herself. When
Yes.
she was sucking out the fat of the deer, when she first unhinged her jaw was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I actually watched this.
Even Pete going up to her in the house at the very end was very horror element of not knowing where she was, but could hear her voice coming through still.
Yeah. Um Abby watched the episode with me this time,
Oh, nice.
and she felt like nowadays it probably would have had a trigger warning because of the talk of like the conversation around eating disorders and everything
I
else.
thought that was a good thing the way they did that, and just basically like she really wanted to get thin for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It was to fit in and to for people to like her and for boys to like her. And I thought her father had a couple like good lines there of like, I just want you to be happy. I just want you to look in the mirror. And like
Like they had it.
you could get mean parents that are calling you fat.
Yeah,
You really
it
well
was a
could.
very supportive like side of that conversation, and even in regards to like Pete being very supportive of her and defending her to that ass hat that was calling her a whale and everything.
And
Um
listeners, you might think it's on the nose, but that 2001, I was in grade 9, 8. Yep, you definitely saw people do that in school.
yeah,
Definitely, 100%.
100%.
Jackasses, we like to call
Yeah.
them, or I like to call them.
And I really love this episode. I I loved that they pointed it out in the podcast because even Abby pointed it out. Um, the ending needle drop with Enrique Iglesias with "I Can Be Your Hero." Um, Probably one of the greatest needle drops of the entire show so far. There is still great ones throughout the seasons of Smallville that I am really looking forward to talking about. Um, but this one, uh, even I think it was I can't remember if it was Ryan or Tom that brought it up on the podcast, saying it was like the perfect needle drop. Um, but I liked what Tom brought to the table and saying that it wasn't just a freak of the week. It was like you get these moments with every single character that was a part of that episode. Again, some of my favorite pieces of this episode were with Lex Luthor. And you are really starting to get the vibe of like, I want to know more about this because of the cliffhanger that left you with that journalist with the car. And I didn't pick it up, but I really enjoyed what Tom had said on the podcast with how he noticed that Lex Luthor had shared his story with Clark, but didn't share his story with Hamilton. And he said, "Oh, the only people that get to know that story are the people that I trust." And people need to remember, like, this was a genuine friendship that Lex and Clark had in the beginning seasons of this episode, which is why it's so heartbreaking when you see the evolution of these characters finally break apart.
Well, they're genuinely best friends for the first couple seasons, and it's really, really cool to see. Obviously, we have Pete there as well, but it's just they have a different kind of dynamic, older brother, younger brother type thing. And we're not talking about anything else in this episode before we talk about the star of the episode, one of the greatest actors that I've ever seen do his thing on several different things, including one of my girlfriend's favorite shows, Scandal. Essentially, whenever he comes on the screen, she tells me to come in so that I can just see him because he's amazing. I don't even care about the show. He's just a really great actor. And that is Joe Morton, Cyborg's dad in Justice League. Emil
Oh,
Hamilton.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. Amazing. I love him in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. And
I
yeah,
I
I
really
just love,
love how unhinged his character
and it
becomes.
gets even worse because he's around the meteor rocks. It
Yeah.
slowly affects him, and it's really great to see. I think eventually like develops shakes
The
and
shakes,
seizures.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I think it
yeah.
might be in the second season, so I could be wrong on that. That it might be a little bit earlier than that. Maybe it might be still in this first season, but
No, I
I,
don't
I,
think it is. I don't think it is. I think it
I
is the
love the element of building the world here. Like you said, Tom Welling was right about that. Like, it was not a freak of the week. There is a freak of the week in here, but there's so much more. And even that freak of the week has a good message behind it of don't like starve yourself. Don't eat so much either and feel terrible about yourself. There's so many little things here about not doing things for the wrong reasons.
they said early on in one of the first few podcasts that that in these types of shows you see that like once every like 3 or 4 episodes the budget would like skyrocket and you get like a really good looking episode.
I hope they
I
didn't
think
spend
it
it on that deer.
I think this was one of their episodes genuinely because of the like the fat suit animation of like when Amy is getting thinner.
That
Again,
looked
it's
way
2001,
better
but it
than,
did
but
look really good.
yes, and when we saw Alexa's face change and that lady, this was much better than that, and that was
Yeah.
only like a few episodes earlier. So I was rather impressed with that as well, Clay. That's a good thing to point out there.
Yeah. Some of the things that I heard them laughing about, which totally makes sense. Because they like to make fun of themselves and they make fun of the show a little bit.
Nobody's a
You
harder critique of the show than Rosenbaum.
yeah, of themselves. But like the fact that like, oh well, why didn't these kryptonite pieces in the food like make anybody else into a mutant or
Well,
anything else like that?
she blended it up into shakes and maybe down the line, but we don't go there. Like you said, there's a lot of disbelief you guys suspend with each episode.
Yeah.
But it was an
And then
enjoyable episode, and Amy Adams, I was shocked at how great she was. I crazy at times where you saw all the food around her. I totally believed the whole performance.
yeah, they were saying how like and this has happened before in other movies, not just TV shows, but with those takes when having to eat food, a lot of actors just spit it out because if you're actually eating it every single time, you're gonna get sick. Um, and so like she was like heavily focused on that and then all of a sudden just spit it out in the trash or whatever. But one thing I totally agree with on like why did this even need to happen is like the greenhouse just blowing up at the end. And they didn't necessarily explain it, but what I think it was is the I'm gonna say the pesticides, which shouldn't be flammable, but the pesticides with along with the electricity and possibly something else just like combusted
It
basically.
could have been propane to heat it too, just keep
Yeah.
it heat it at a certain temperature. But they would have to explain that for us to. It was kind of a let's make an explosion for an explosion. Uh,
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, it wasn't even like, yeah, blow that up if you want. And Clark conveniently shows up. And he's just like, hey, Pete, over here. And there's nothing said about that, which I thought, okay, yeah, uh, yeah, keep going, Pete. Just put your head in the sand, you fool. Just for a date. Just for a date.
I cannot wait for the episode. I saw it in a TikTok, but I scrolled past it because I genuinely want to watch it when it happens. I can't wait for Pete to find out he has superpowers.
I think that's season 2, episode 3, or season 2, episode 2. Something like that. Something early in
Yeah.
season 2, I think.
And
But this was enjoyable.
we have how many episodes in the season? 23?
23, I think, maybe? I
Yeah.
think the graduation is the last one for this
All right.
season.
Cool.
Okay.
But that is it for the episode. Thank you guys for all who have lasted this long. Of course, um, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Go into the link tree in the bio there, and you can find all the shows that I host, that including right here at DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course Star Wars Alliance. Heinz, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. I also host superhero discussions on the network. We've been bouncing around a little bit with our dates, but we're going to come out with Harley Quinn review this weekend, and then Rick and Morty coming at you Wednesday. Don't worry. Can't wait to see that season premiere. I am so excited for that show. Clay, you have to watch it. It is such a good show. You'll really enjoy it as a fan of animation and Crazy Rick. So I think you'll super enjoy that. I can't wait for you to check that out. And listeners, like I said, thanks for listening.